Hello guys, if you want to find out how I successfully adjust my basal insulin, stay close, don't go anywhere. Before I go deep into it, I have to tell you I am not a doctor, I am not a diabetic specialist. Everything I share in my videos is about how I treat and how I deal with my diabetes. This is what works for me. If you try to do it on yourself, you have to be aware for you it might be slightly different. And if you don't know how to do it, you have to check with your doctor before you apply any changes in your treatment. If you wake up with high blood sugars, or if you end up having across the night high blood sugars, or you end up having low blood sugars overnight or in the morning, the reason behind it, it could be wrong basal insulin dosages. Having bad blood sugars across night and in the morning doesn't necessarily means it's the basal insulin which is wrongly dosed. It could be any other reasons like the meal you had overnight or multiple other reasons, but one of the reasons and one of the main one, it could be the basal insulin dosages. And to make sure, you have to start and eliminate the reasons one by one. So I will run this test which I'm about to explain now. Before I go further and I explain how I do the test on myself, I have to explain to you, I usually take my basal insulin in the evening, in the night actually, at 10 in the night. I split in two dosages. I take 12 now, but it can be anywhere between 12 and 18, depends how am I and how I'm doing. It's mainly because of my exercises. So I split it in two. If it's 12, I do 6 units with 6 units. I do it just in different sites. I don't like to bolus in the same place in one dosage if it's greater than 10 units. So my usual dosage is 10 in the evening. That's the main one. And I also take another dose of slow-acting insulin in the afternoon, around 3:30. So in the day I'm going to run the test. I am going to plan my last meal of the day quite early, or I even skip it if I can't eat earlier. So if I am at home and I can eat at about 5, 6 in the afternoon, I'm gonna have my last meal around 5, 6. If it's not possible because I work long hours, I'm going to just skip the dinner for that day, particular day. The main important thing is before I take my basal insulin, I need to have about at least 5 hours since my last meal. So very important, in the evening of the test, I need to make sure the meal I had, it's a meal which it's very easy for me to bolus, and I have very little chances to not have a good blood sugar level for that evening. I don't want to end up with high blood sugars when I run the test for my meal, for my wrongly bolus meal, either too low or either too high. So when I run the test, I eat early, and when I'm 5 hours after the last meal and I take my basal insulin, I need to make sure my blood sugar level is within normal good ranges for me, which for me is anywhere between 4 and 6. If after I have my meal at 6 o'clock, let's say, around 10 or 9, my blood sugar is too high and I have to take another shot to correct it, I'm going to skip the test for that day because it's too risky. That means I already end up not having my blood sugar tweaked from the fast-acting insulin, and this is going to affect. I have a great chance that I again over bolus, maybe over treat it, and then I end up being too low, and that insulin will end up overlapping with my slow acting insulin, and it's going to be too difficult for me to to understand what's happening. So let's suppose now my blood sugars are fine after 5-6 hours after I had my last meal. Let's say my blood sugar is 5.5. I check my blood sugar, it's 10 o'clock in the night. It's 5.5, everything is good. I take my basal insulin, I take my 12 units of insulin, have a good night's sleep. Very important also, usually I go to bed after 11, never earlier than 11, usually 12. This is my time, around 12ish, could be before 12 a little bit or after 12, but my hour usually is around 12. Let's say I didn't have to wake up across the night, everything was fine. I didn't have any alarms or my Dexcom, I didn't feel terrible and I had to wake up with too high blood sugar or too low blood sugars. Let's say everything was within good ranges which didn't cause me any trouble during my sleep. So I wake up and I will check up my numbers and I will see what the numbers are. And this reading is actually the measuring point to which I'm looking to understand if my insulin dosage is fine. Slow acting insulin. If the number is too high, that means my basal insulin it's underdosed, so I will need to increase the dosages. If the blood sugar is too low, where it's a little bit lower, where it's lower than I want it to be, I'm going to decrease the amount of insulin I take at night time. And the last one, if my blood sugar is just fine, is how I want it to be, this would give me an indication that the basal insulin is just fine and I don't need to do any adjustments for now. Really important, when I adjust my basal insulin dosages, I never do it with more than 2 units at a time, and I never do any change more than once every 2 days. So if I adjust my dosage, let's say I had 12 units and it was too little and I have to increase it, I'm going to take another 2 units, it's going to be 14 units the next evening, and I will run the same test as the day before, and I will read my numbers, and I will next day, even if the blood sugar is still wrong, I'm going to take still 14 units, and so I wait 2 days to see the results, and after 2 days, if I still have I need to adjust more because my blood sugar is still too high, I'm going to take another 2 units, so I end up with 16 units, and then I wait for another 2 days and I check my numbers. So I'm going to have to run this across about a week or so to make sure I'm getting closer to the numbers I'm looking for. The reason behind it is, as you know probably from your doctor, basal insulin takes time until it's properly in your bloodstream, and sometimes you may have a little bit of delay, so it's not as fast as fast-acting insulin when you have it all in your bloodstream and after 5-6 years later it's all gone. With long-acting insulin things are a little bit slower. Very important to know, I never run the test if I have a late meal or I had a meal earlier in the evening and I end up being very low and I have to eat carbs to bring my blood sugar up, because these carbs or insulin, extra insulin added to correct my blood sugar, will interfere with long-acting insulin and it's gonna bring me false numbers. So when I run the test, I want to make sure I don't have any fast-acting insulin in my body, and it's only the long and slow-acting insulin, and this will help me have a clear picture of where my blood sugar should be. Having a good basal insulin dosage is very, very important, because it helps you crack down your overall blood sugar number. If something is wrong, you will know it's coming from your meal and the bolus to the meal and nothing else. So this is how it is for me, guys. This is how I do the tweaking in my basal insulin. It really works for me. It took me a lot of testing and trial and reading to understand this together with my doctor. Again, don't do any of this if you are not familiar with it, if you don't know what you are doing. Please check with your doctor before you do any changes in your insulin if you don't know how to do it. This is what only works for me. For you it might be slightly different. It's just to show you how I do it as a diabetic type 1. This is the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave any comments below. Let me know if you like this video. Let me know if you want me to talk about other topics. Thank you for watching and see you again next time.